All right, guys, welcome to Florida's Treasure Coast Market Update. Today, we're going to get you out of that rental.
You better get fired up.
All right, so today I want to talk to renters, right? Rentals are looked at as being a cheaper, more affordable opportunity than owning. But when it comes down to it, a lot of times you don't realize that renting can be more expensive. Why is it more expensive? Here's why. As a homeowner, when I purchase a home that I'm going to rent out, number one, if you purchase a primary residence, you're going to get the best rates possible, right? If you go to purchase a secondary property, whether it's a vacation property or it's an investment property, whatever it is, you're not going to get the best rates possible. You're going to get something that's usually 2, 3, 4% more on those interest rates. So that landlord is either going to be heavy cash or they're going to get a loan that's going to have worse rates. So now their payment compared to the same payment you would have if you actually lived there as a homeowner is going to be higher, right? Think about this too. Let's just say that they bought the property as a homestead property. They owned it for a couple of years. They decided to move out. Now they're going to rent it out. They need to make a profit. So they're going to look at what other people are paying as purchasers, and then they're going to add on $200-300 a month, whatever it is, so that they're making a profit. If they're not making a profit, why would they do it, right? They're not going to do that. They're going to put their money in stocks, bonds, something else. They're going to put their money in some other investment to make more money back on it. So when you're looking at a rental, it's usually going to be the same price, excuse me, or most often a little bit higher for the same property. So right now in Port St. Lucie, if you're looking for a property and you want like 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, like the cheapest properties we can find, they're starting at like $1,700-1,800. And when I say $1,700-1,800, I'm talking about probably an efficiency, and you're probably going to have 1 or 2 options in the entire 200,000 plus person city. And it's going to be gone like that because those properties go immediately, right? To get to where you've got some options, like I'm talking 7-8 options, not a lot of options, but 7-8 options. And the home, way outdated. It's probably built in the 80s or the 90s, something like that. It's dated. Maybe needs a couple repairs, but they're aesthetic repairs. Now you're looking probably in that $2,200-2,300 range, right? But if you're looking for something that's been updated in the last 10 years and it's got 3 bedrooms and let's say 1,800 square feet and it's in Port St. Lucie, you're probably looking at starting around $2,500, $2,600, $2,700, right? If you were to purchase a property for $300,000, depending upon a million things, right? What are your taxes in that area? What's the rate? Are you in an HOA? What's the insurance? A bunch of different things. You're probably looking at that $2,000 to $2,500 a month range. Now, that might be higher than a lot of people want, but if you can afford that, even if it's tough, owning puts you in such a better position. I'm going to have Nate Joma on. He's a phenomenal lender. He's coming on in a couple weeks on a Friday, and we're going to talk about what it's actually costing you to be a renter over the years versus being a property owner, right? There's so many things that you're missing out on. Right now, if you're a renter, you're paying down the landlord's mortgage and they're building up equity. If you own it, you're building your equity in your own house, right? You're building your own future wealth. You're also seeing property prices go up. Even if you bought at the worst time in history, which would have been right before the 2008 collapse, I think it was September of 2007. I can't remember when it is, but it was right before the collapse. If you bought at the highest point 10 years later, you still would have made a phenomenal return on your money during the worst 10-year history of housing in America ever, right? The biggest housing collapse ever. You still would have made money over 10 years. And that's not even counting the fact that you're paying down your mortgage, right? So the house would have been worth more. What you owed on your mortgage would have been less. And that difference right there is going to be the equity that you're building. You're not able to do that with renting. So there are challenges to purchasing a home. One of the biggest challenges is you've got to have a certain credit score. I think a lot of people think it's got to be higher than it is. You can honestly get a home at 580 or above. You can get a home for less than 580, but you're going to have unfavorable terms, right? But at 580 or above, you're able to get a home. Not a lot of people know that, right? Cash out of pocket. Yeah, you're going to need some cash out of pocket. If you're a veteran, you can do it with no money out of pocket. You're going to have closing costs, but we can ask the seller to pay closing costs. You can get into an FHA product or even a conventional loan. you can do it 3.5%. So looking at a $300,000 property, you're looking at about $10,000, right? So if you can come up with 10 grand, you can own a property. In a lot of these situations, if you're getting a $2,500 rental, you could have first, last, and deposit anyway. That's $7,500. So you're really not that far off. All right, Caitlin Urban's got a question here. Not sure if you respond to comments. I do. But what is your response to people saying, I'm going to wait for prices to come down? I haven't seen anything indicating this is going to happen. What are your thoughts, Joe? Let's throw that up. Here's my thoughts on this. And I hear this every single day, right? I make a lot of calls. I'm hearing this all the time. Could prices go down? Absolutely. Could prices go up? Absolutely. Could they stay the same? Absolutely. But we've seen rates go from the 2s to the 5s, even creep into the 6s, and it really hasn't had an impact on sales. We are seeing that the amount of listings coming on the market is going up, right? A lot of sellers want to sell, but we're having the same number of sales as we are a month ago, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, 6 months ago, right? I take that back. Sales maybe dipped 10%, 12%. The amount of sales, not the prices. We haven't seen prices move. Prices have kind of plateaued, right? Another thing is we're in Florida. So Florida is a whole different economy than a lot of other states in the nation. A lot of other states, and you can see some of these bigger areas, right? A lot of these other areas, from memory, I want to say it's Vegas, Phoenix, Seattle. They are seeing reductions in prices now because the market's been changing, right? We're in a quote unquote recession. Rates have come up, but we're not seeing that in Florida. And I think a big part of it, this is my biased opinion of what I'm seeing boots on the ground when I'm talking to buyers who are coming here from out of state, but they want to get rid of high taxes. They want to get rid of the restrictions. A lot of these people are small business owners and they don't know what restriction is going to be placed on them next, right? This is the perception of the people coming down, and they view Florida as the least restricted, least taxed state. That attracts them, right? So we're seeing 1,000 people on average come down here every single day. It's tough to get 1,000 people net coming to your state a day and see prices go down, right? It's just not probable. You got to look at the alternative too, right? If people aren't going to buy, what are they going to do? They're going to rent? Okay, rentals have gone up tremendously. We just talked about prices in the beginning here of rentals going up. So when you look at your options, plan B, plan A might suck. I got it. But a lot of times when I talk with my clients, when I talk with my agents, I'll always say, hey, we got to be logical here. We got to be realistic. I know Emotional You is looking at plan A and maybe it's a C- or a D+, and you're bummed out about that. I get it. But realistically, we got to look at plan A and compare it to plan B. If plan B is renting and plan B is an F or a D-, it might make more sense to go with the other one, right? So what I'm looking at right now is kind of a plateau of prices. I'm not seeing them go down. I expect rates to stay where they're at, maybe come up a little bit. I don't think they're going to come up enough to where it's going to have a huge impact on prices, especially here in Florida. But again, that's a guess, right? I'd also offer this. I looked at when my wife and I bought, we bought a year ago, and I looked at the data. I'm a data-driven person, and I looked at the last 70 years of real estate, right, to include 2008. And I looked at all of those years, and I looked at what year over year numbers showed a 10% decrease in prices or more, right? 10% or more. And I literally saw it happen once, 1 out of 70 years, and it was the 2008 crash, right? And even in that crash, like I said, had you owned for 10 years, you still would have made out. So even in that one time, you would have made out if you were a long-term owner. By long-term, I mean 10 years. Most people are going to stay in their property for 6, 10, 12 years. So looking at all of that, the odds of us timing the market correctly are 1 out of 70 looking at the last 70 years. Do I want to buy into that? I don't. I'm not going to take that risk, right? I don't think it's going to happen. And you might say, well, yeah, Joe, but what if it drops 3%, 4%? If it drops 3 or 4%, I'm still making money buying, even though the price goes down. And even if I sell early, because I'm paying down my mortgage and I'm building up that equity, I'm not doing that with a rental. Not only am I not doing that with a rental, but here's another thing that I'd add to that, Caitlin. Let's say prices stay where they're at. And what's a rental going to do? Year over year over year, rentals consistently go up with inflation. But when you purchase a home, you've got principal and interest involved with your loan. Assuming you're of the, I would guess 98, 99% who do not get an adjustable rate mortgage, and you've got a normal 30-year fixed or a 15-year fixed, your principal and your interest are going to remain the same. So when you meet people who've been in their house for 15, 20 years and they've got an $894 payment, you know why. It's because they are going off of prices, principal, interest from 15, 20 years ago. And I know we think the prices are high now. I completely get it. But in 15, 20 years, you're going to think that prices now were a steal, and you're going to say what every other old person says, man, I wished I'd purchased more property when it was cheap, right? So if you can get into a payment now, you're locking it in. Go rent, and you're going to see that payment go up with inflation every single year. And you can see what inflation has done in the last year, right? It's been up 8, 9% over the year, if I remember correctly. I don't want to buy into that. I want to lock into a rate. I want to lock into a payment. Oh, guess what? If the rates go down and you timed it incorrectly, you can refinance whenever you want, but you can't reprice. Once you lock into a price, you're locked in, right? So if prices go up, you're okay. The odds of prices going down are slim. I'll tell you this too, Caitlin. It's the last thing I'm going to say. This might offend some people, but it's true. People with that mentality of are prices going to drop? If they are, I'm just going to hold off and wait. We'll see. Tend to be people who rent. Tend to be people who don't save 10% of their money and invest it in 401ks or IRAs or whatever it is. And they're always chasing the what if. And it's out of fear. And I completely get that fear. Completely makes sense to me. But when it comes down to it, people who build up generational wealth know that it really doesn't matter what prices do over the short term. If I own this property long term, I guarantee the prices are going to go up. Or at least looking over the last 70 years, they've gone up over a 10-year span every single time, to include 2008. Right? So I would say to that, are we here to gamble, or are you here to buy a home? If you're here to buy a home and you're going to stay in it for a reasonable amount of time, the odds that you're going to fail out with this are pretty slim. But if you're here to gamble, dude, let's just go to the casino. Why buy a house, right? Let's go gamble. That's what I would say. Oh man, my buddy Jim Wethington, hey, from Nashville. We miss you, buddy. We miss you. Land is finite. That's a great point too, man. A lot of land investors out there pulling in the land and holding it for as long as they can. Because if you, especially if you own on the brink of an area of growth, right, which like Port St. Lucie, if you're looking at Okeechobee or the west part of Fort Pierce, that area is going to grow. So that land right now is fairly affordable compared to land inside the city. If you buy it and you can wait 10, 20, 30 years for that to expand, now you can take advantage of that increase in values. Caitlin says, all great points to remember. Thank you. You got it, bud. No problem. So here's what I want to do. I'm going to share screen. I'm going to bring up the MLS here. And I want to think as a renter, okay? I want to think as a renter, and I want to look in Port St. Lucie. And like I said, you're probably around that $2,000 to $2,500 a month mark. A lot of asterisks to what I'm saying there. But if you're right around $300,000, I want to show you what $300,000 gets you. And because I know an HOA fee is going to add to that, I'm only going to look at properties that are not in homeowners associations, right? Or at least they're in a volunteer, which you don't have to pay. So we've got 48 options in Port St. Lucie at $300,000 or less. These are not in associations. You know what? I know I'm going to have a problem with. There's going to be some stuff in Spanish Lakes, but we'll take it out of there. So let's start with, and you know what? Let's go with square foot descending. So we're looking at some of the bigger homes. So we've got a 1,700 square foot. I'm pretty sure this one's in Spanish Lakes. It is. That one is. That one is. Okay, let's take a look at this one, right? So this one is $299. All right. And it's got 1,718 square feet. And let's take a look at the photos. All right. This doesn't look bad. Now, yeah, a lot of people are going to look at this and say, this is kind of some goofy paint on the doors over here. Guess what? You can paint those doors for $30 in a weekend, right? Some people aren't going to like the wood paneling along the side of the wall. Guess what? You can take that down and you can repaint, and it'll take you a weekend and another $30 can of paint, right? You can take care of that stuff. It's not that tough, guys. And if you want an affordable home and you want to build equity and you want to create that generational wealth, you've got to start taking on tasks like this, right? That's what people who build up wealth do. They do the work. Man, is that shade carpet or is that a rug? I think it's a rug. So I can see a lot of little issues with paint and stuff like that, right? I can see down here it's either dirty or needs paint. The gutters are dirty. The yard needs some attention. Right up here, you can see they smooth things out, but you're going to want to paint. But a lot of this stuff, this is a great $300,000 home that you can purchase. You can put some time and effort into. And now you're able to build up a home that's worth $350,000, $375,000 in a couple of years, right? Here's another one, $290,000. Let's take a look at some of these photos. So we got a one-stall garage. This looks like a flip, right? We got granite countertops. Looks like the cabinets are newer. They got some sort of backsplash in there, stainless steel appliances. You got a front porch, tile flooring, nice tile flooring. All right, we got a security camera. Hey, a really nicely done bathroom with it looks like a new vanity. You've got tile in the bathroom, and this is $290,000. So again, I'm guessing you're right in that $2,000 to $2,500 a month mark, right? Oh, guess what? A lot of you renters are single. I mean, if you're not single, don't listen to this. But if you are single, go find a single buddy, right? You guys can split that $2,000. Maybe he's renting from you. Now he gets a sweet rental deal for $1,000 a month. You're only paying $1,000, but you're both combining to pay that mortgage down over the years. Well, this doesn't show you anything inside. All right, here's one for $299, right? We'll look at a couple more. Tile flooring, it's dated, but it's tile. You got crown molding. Right? Okay. Again, dated. But you're getting into a home and you're building equity. We got granite countertops, backsplash. There you go. That's all the photos you get on that. We'll look at Uno Mas. Let's look at this guy. $299. $299. Okay, so here you go. You can work on the yard right away. Cheap, easy fix. Just take some sweat equity and you can already make the property look way better. Declutter all this stuff. Clean this up with a little power washer. We're probably at about $300-400 in a weekend or two right now, right? Flooring doesn't match, but guess what? You're getting a cheap home for $299. And you're building up that equity. Let me go back here. Yeah, this door's a little beat up. You can paint it. Or you can just leave it. It's aesthetic. It's not a big deal as long as you're able to build that equity, right? I'm thinking of my kids, man. I want them to get into a nice home with good bones. This is a nice kitchen. And just build that equity. I want the same for you guys. So I can see right here, we got some issues with paint or staining, something like that. But again, you can paint that. That's going to deter a lot of buyers. A lot of buyers are looking for an aesthetically perfect home. As a seller, think about that, right? The staging that you can do to increase the amount of people that are coming through. This is a beautiful bathroom. But as a buyer, think about taking advantage of that, some of that stuff. If you can put in $500, $1,000, $1,500 in a couple weekends, you can buy something that's got, this is beautiful. And look at how big it is, man. You're able to fit 2 beds, space on all sides. That's great. You're able to build in some of that equity with your efforts. And now when you go to buy that second home, oh, that's a good size lot. You've got some cash down. Oh, and you got that big buffer area back here. This is nice. You're in a cul-de-sac. Yeah, look at that. A canal. This is great. This is great. So there you guys go. Just wanted to show you a few options of what you can get if you're renting. And you want to get out of that rental situation. Is it going to be perfect? No. Are you going to have aesthetic issues you're not going to like? Absolutely. Is it going to be the perfect home and check every box? No. But compare it to Plan B. If Plan B is renting and paying down somebody else's mortgage, it's not building up equity for you and your future and your family. I'd urge you, with any realtor, it doesn't have to be me, go talk with a realtor, talk with a financial advisor, talk with a lender, have somebody run the numbers for you, not just today. I can't tell you how many, literally every buyer I've ever had says, what's the interest rate? What's my down payment going to be? What's my monthly payment going to be? You know what I've never heard that I would love to hear? Joe, can you compare me renting for $2,250 a month for the next 10 years to buying this house and having a $2,250 a month payment financially? Let's say I sell the house and let's say I get out of the rental, both in 10 years, two different scenarios, where am I at financially? If you did that, you would see a drastic difference in the amount of wealth that you've got because you made that one choice. And again, join me with Nate Joma. I want to say it's next Friday, right? But it'll be up on my Facebook page. Go look for it. And we're actually going to go through the numbers and show you what it's costing you to rent over the years. Guys, I appreciate you joining me, guys. Thanks for the comments. If you've got any other comments, questions, anything like that, even after this video is over, go put them down there, whether you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, and I'll always get back to you with some answers. Guys, have a phenomenal Wednesday. Take care.